Hi, my name is Paul Arnold and I'm a qualified psychotherapist and a trained coach. And today's session is going to be talking about managing depression. Again, another huge topic, and it's one that I can only just scratch the surface of. And I'm going to talk a bit about theory, and I'm going to give some strategies. And those strategies are very much sort of cognitive, behavioral wise. Whilst you think about it, depression has very deep roots, of emotional hurt and dysfunctionality. And that's where the psychotherapeutic room can really help to dig into that space. But let's now talk a little bit more about managing depression. Look, we should be careful about over pathologizing depression. We all have in our life periods of being depressed. We failed the exam, someone dumped us, we lost our job, etc. So this is almost part of life. And in many ways, we need to learn to deal with that. But where it goes wrong is where we are locked in a persistent place of depression. That's where it does go into, the books there, the DSM, talking all about, the levels of what we'll call clinical depression. World Health Organization estimates about 350 million people in the world have depression. 1 in 7 have a clinical level, 5% in men, 3% in women. And when we've had it, that feeling when you have zero energy, you just want to have a duvet day. And for many people, they just can't get out of bed for months. Their head swirls with negative thoughts. There's a helplessness and a hopelessness. They can find no joy in everything. There's a listlessness. And actually, at the very extreme end, some people can have suicidal thoughts. And obviously, depression is one of the biggest causes for when people do decide to take their own lives. The theory is mixed about the biological nature of this. There is certainly seen in people who are depressed a lower levels of serotonin in the brain. But actually, we now call what I call a biopsychosocial model, which is this idea that other things can happen in our life, social issues, the power threat meaning framework talks about how poverty is the cause of all causes. So in other words, our environmental conditions can make us feel depressed because we can't get our way out. So because of that, it probably does inhibit the secretion of serotonin. So there's that, and there's also some sort of psychological background we may have been in. We may have had massive trauma in our life. So all of these can affect what's going on inside the brain. And we certainly do know that actually, impacts within our life will create new synaptic changes within the brain. Now, the good news is obviously that with neuroplasticity, some of these things can actually change. But there's a feeling of fragmentation, of being out of relationship with self, and very often we therefore take ourselves out of relationship with other people. And there's work would suggest that depression is a defense mechanism. I don't want to by any way suggest it's not a real thing, but actually very often what is behind the depression. Strategies. Look, I would never decry the role of drugs in this space. The SSRIs, are massively prescribed for so many people. And if you are in a really deep dark space, then by all means go along and see your doctor, go and see a psychiatrist and get yourself properly looked after, because that can at least help calm and control it to the point we need that. I do still think that one needs to probably do some more work outside of that to really understand what's going on, because all it's doing is holding it at bay. It's not fundamentally dealing with the issue at stake. Then I also encourage, people to keep an emotional diary going, because there's something about if they're in this helpless and hopeless space, to realize that some days is slightly better than others. And also to keep a thoughts diary. What's going through your head? And very often we can then sort of look at that and explore that and almost like, sort out what is the truth from the fiction that we're allowing ourselves to fill our heads with. But I think the most important thing is about connecting, as difficult as it is, to get out there, to connect with people. And maybe people are too difficult. Connect with pets. A really powerful therapeutic role pets can play. Connect in nature. But there's the thing about connect is what we need to go and do. And obviously it's easier said than done, but some of the distraction techniques, some of the getting yourself out of yourself, mindfulness and things like that can play a role. But I appreciate that's quite difficult. But fundamentally, this is where, with the aid of medication as well, going into therapy can play a really powerful role, because we need to go into what was underlying the depression. What's going on there? What's the narrative? What's the trauma? And then when we can look at that, then we can help to process that out and help the person move to a better, healthier space. I hope that helps.